chapter 13 is the birth of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, anyway, let's continue. Chapter 7, text 100. Ye kichu kahile tumi sabha satyahaya Krishna prema se paya yada bhagyodaya. Dear Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what you have said is all true. Only one who is favored by fortune attains love of Godhead. So he's recounting here Mahaprabhu's encounter with Prakashananda Saraswati. If I'm not mistaken. It's one of those pastimes which are kind of given twice. It's not quite chronological. It is described here in chapter 7 of Ādi-līlā, and then we'll find it again at the very end of Madhya-līlā. You see, the reason for this is that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, the author, he considered some pastimes so crucially important that he wanted to get them down on paper. He wanted to have them recorded in case he was not able to finish the composition. So, if he passed away before he could finish the book, he wanted at least the most important pastimes to be recorded. So, of course, this is an extremely important pastime. So it's given at the very conclusion of Madhya-līlā, which is the preaching phase of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's life, where the spreading of the Sankirtan movement is performed. It's the pastime. The theme, if there's any, say, theme verse for Madhya-līlā, then it is Atmaramas Chumunayo Nirgrantha Pirukrame Kauravantya hoita kim bhakti itam buddha guno harahi, which describes how the beauty of Krishna and his pastimes, contact with that takes one even from the Mayavad position, even from Atmaram, being fully self-satisfied. Self-satisfied means nothing extraneous, nothing external can take one's attention, can cause one to pursue that. There is no bhakti, so to speak. There is no desire to enjoy the environment. There is no desire to achieve happiness through engagement with anything outside of one's own self. And that's why it's Atmaram, self-satisfied, completely self-sufficient. You can imagine a farm where they grow all the food that they need to consume, and they produce perhaps their own electricity, or they live without electricity. They have no need for any input for purchasing any product or resource from outside of their farm. So that farm is fully self-sufficient. They do not depend on anyone else for their sustenance. So in terms of enjoyment, someone who is Atmaram, they do not depend on anyone else for their well-being, for their satisfaction. No one else, nothing else. Atmarama. So that is a state of perfection known as self-realization. Atmagyan. But even those people, when they come in contact with the astounding beauty of Krishna and his past urukrame, his wondrous activities, urukram, then their Atmaram, their self-sufficiency is ruptured, and they begin to pursue, they see a further, a reason to act, a desire to connect, serve, engage with Krishna and his devotees. So even though they thought they'd achieved the pinnacle of spiritual realization, when they come in contact with Krishna, his devotees, his pastimes, what are the 5 special qualities of Krishna? Or the 4? 4 or 5? 4 perhaps. His flute, his personal beauty, his pastimes, his devotees. 4 special qualities of Krishna. His flute, his lila, his associates, like his devotees, parishads, and his personal beauty. So any of those, when these self-satisfied persons, these people who have achieved this self-realization, when they come in contact with the form or the associates or the lila, flute of Krishna, then they become, their tranquility is agitated, and a new vista of spiritual experience opens up for them to explore. So this verse is the most quoted verse, Atmaramas Chumunayo, in the Ādi-līlā, the preaching pastimes. And you could say it's the theme verse, particularly of the pastime of Prakashananda's conversion from Mayavad to Bhakti, because that's what this verse describes essentially. And the verse is first unpacked in Mahaprabhu's meeting with Sarvabhauma, and then later at the behest of Sanatana Goswami and Sanatana Shiksha, and then a chapter or 2 after that, once again it is explored again by Mahaprabhu. 60 something, 64, 61 something. Explanations of the Atmaram verse are given once again to Prakashanand and his crew as they are in the process of converting from Advaita to Bhakti due to the influence of Mahaprabhu. So that verse is worthy of quoting, as we are now recounting, we are now reading that pastime. So I won't, of course, Vishaka has gone through that in the past few days. Jai Srila Gurudev, Hare Krishna, Jai Prabhu. So we are continuing here. Dear Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what you have said is all true. Only one who is favored by fortune attains love of Godhead. Bhagya Udaya. Udaya means to rise up. Song we sing, Udilo Aruna. Udilo, the rising of what? The sun, the morning, the dawn. When Mahaprabhu comes out to sing with his associates, Udilo Aruna Purabobhage. So, Bhagya Udaya. Bhagya means fortune. Bhagavan, the term Bhagavan, which is used for God in his personal feature. Bhagavan means the person who possesses a forest. Vana is a forest. So Bhagavan is a forest of fortune or opulence. So Bhaga means good, the good stuff. Fortune, opulence, auspiciousness. Bhagavan. So bhagya udaya, when one's fortune has ripened, has arisen. There's another place we see this term. Brahmanda brahmite kona bhagyavana jeev Guru Krishna prasad he bhai bhakti lata bij. And that is in the Sanatan Shiksha, when Mahaprabhu is teaching Sanatan Goswami in chapters 20 to 24, so 19 to 24 of Ādi-līlā. Bhagyavan, again, Brahmanda, Brahmite, Kona, Bhagyavana Jeev, when by their fortune, by their tremendous good fortune, the Jeev, which is the individual soul, wandering throughout the universe, known as the Brahmanda. Brahma, the creation of Lord Brahma, while wandering around in the almost infinite, from our perspective, it's almost infinite. Not technically not infinite, but almost. Effectively. Brahmanda Brahmite, Kona, Bhagyavana, the Kona, the triangle. Kona, Bhagyavana, Guru Krishna Prasade Bhai, Bhakti Lata Bij. So we know what Bhakti Lata Bij is. Right? Bhagavat Premno Hi Bija Paradam. The last verse of Gurudev's Pranam Mantra. Bija. Bija means a seed. This is Bhagavat Premno Hi Bija Paradam. Gurudev is planting the seed of Bhagavat Prem, Krishna Prem, in the heart. So says Param Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Śrīdhar Swāmī Maharaj. So Guru Krishna Prasad He Bhai Bhakti Lata Bij. So Bhakti Lata is the plant of devotion. Bhakti Devi is described as a climbing plant. A lata is a climbing plant. So Bhakti Lata Bij, the seed of the climbing plant of devotion, comes by the grace of Guru Krishna Prasad. Prasad means mercy. Prasad means kripa or karuna, anugraha, various synonyms. Guru Krishna Prasad. So by the grace, by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, the seed of the Bhakti Lata, the climbing plant, is planted. And why? This one jiva is wandering, this one soul is wandering around the almost infinite, the quasi-infinite Brahmanda, material universes, up and down, here and there, all around, left, right. And they come across, through what? Good fortune, Bhagyavan. They come across Guru Krishna, that is, they come across Krishna or his devotees, generally his devotees. So that's Guru. The top devotee is Guru. And then they receive the Bhakti Lata Bij through Bhagyavan. So it's the saying the same thing. Only one who is favored by fortune. That's the words chosen by Prabhupada. Only one whose fortune has ripened. So Bhagyavan, Bhagya Udaya, saying the same thing. Now, we may ask the question, if it's saying here that only one whose good fortune has awakened, they get the bhakti, then why do we have a verse given by Rupa Goswami? Where is it? In Padyavali? Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Matahi Kriyatam Yari Kutopi Labdyate Tatra Lolyam Apimulyam Ekalam Koti Janma Sukratir Na Labdyate. Sukratir Na Labdyate. Labdya means profit or gain. So you will not gain. You will not gain what? Bhakti, Koti Janma, even after lots of lives of what? Sukriti, which means good fortune, pious activity, moral, dharmic acts, doing good. Gaining sukriti. How do you get sukriti? By good karma, good acts. Doing good things, moral living, charity, mercy, charity. But that won't give bhakti, according to Rupa Goswami. So there appears to be a contradiction here. Rupa Goswami says, Koti janma sukritena labdyate. But here it said, Krishna prema se paya yara bhagyudaya, that those whose good fortune has arisen, the Krishna prema. So it does appear to be a contradiction superficially, but really what is being referred here is a little nuance. There's two different items being referred to here. One is that the good fortune being referred to here is the mercy of the Lord. Bhagya Udaya. Not so much mundane punya. And so Rupa Goswami says that the punya, the sukriti, does not give bhakti. But what it can do is lead one, it can create an environment in which one is favorable to accepting the principles, the concepts of bhakti. So, although sukriti, you could say, let's make a gardening analogy. Although sukriti may be compared to a well-prepared soil, that well-prepared soil does not give birth to bhakti without the planting of the seed. So, a special fortune of Guru and Krishna is the planting of that seed, as we've just been talking about. Bhagavat Prem Nohi Bija Pradam, in reference to specifically to our dear Gurudev, and Guru Krishna Prasad Hivai Bhakti Lata Bij. So there is a difference between having a fertile field for the development of bhakti and having that seed planted in that field and the bhakti lata to germinate and grow. These are two distinct conditions. So Sukriti may cultivate a fertile field, but that is no guarantee of a seed being planted in that field and germinating. There's no guarantee of bhakti entering and taking hold in one's life. For that, Rupa Goswami says, there must be lolyam. First of all, there must be good fortune and that's the direct prasad. Guru Krishna prasad, that's the really good fortune. And through that, the seed of devotional service is planted. And then through further practices, which essentially hinge on tatra lolyam apimulyam ekalam, earnest desire for the result. That's when bhakti comes into one's life. Text 101. Krishna bhakti kara ihaya sabara santosha vedanta na shunakene tara kibadosha. Dear sir, there is no objection to your being a great devotee of Lord Krishna. Everyone is satisfied with this. But why do you avoid discussion on the Vedanta Sutra? What is the fault in it? So what is the Vedanta Sutra? Mahaprabhu is discussing here with Prakashanand Saraswati, who is a follower of Shankaracharya. And Shankaracharya wrote a commentary to the Vedanta Sutra. What is the Vedanta Sutra? It's 555 verses, which are a condensed summary of the Vedic corpus of literature. That is the Vedanta Sutra. And that was composed by Vedavyas. And the Vedanta Sutra, given its position as the essence, the compiled essence of the Vedic literature, the summarized Vedic literature, all of the leaders, the founders of any school of thought, were required to have a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. Ramanuja, Madhva, Shankara, Nimbarka, they all have their commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. And of course we know the pastime at the time of Vishwanath, Chakravarti Thakur, when he was very old, he had a follower named Baladev Vidyabhushan. And the Brahmanas of Jaipur, they were objecting to the Vaishnava worship of Radha Krishna. They were saying that the Gaudiya Vaishnavas are not qualified to worship Radha Krishna in the mandir, in the murti form, in the Vrindavan temples, because they're not a proper sampradaya, they're not an authorized sampradaya, which means an authorized school of philosophy, theology, but because they do not have a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. So this was considered a prime prerequisite, or an essential prerequisite to being a authorized, authentic theological school, or philosophical, religious sampradaya, a sampradaya, spiritual school. And so of course we know the story of Baladev Vidyabhushan then composing in kind of record time through the grace of Govindaji in Vrindavan. Interestingly, whose worship the Pandits in Jaipur were questioning the Vaishnava's ability to do so. So then he, through his mercy, the Vaishnava who was worshipping him, Baladev Vidyabhushan, composes a commentary. So the Lord is basically saying through Baladev Vidyabhushan, yes, these people are qualified to worship me, and I'm saying so myself through my commentary. That's why it's known as Govinda Vasya. So in 10 days he composed a commentary. At least I've heard it was a basic commentary, enough to satisfy the doubting pundits of Jaipur. And then later, in time, he composed a more thorough commentary. I haven't read the Govinda Bhasya. For some reason, it's not promoted so much in our circles today, in the modern day. You would think it is, considering that it is the piece of literature that gives official authentication to our sampradaya. From in that context, I say official authentication, not that it's needed. The only authentication comes ultimately, Acharya Mam Vijanayan. Krishna is, the only authentication is needed is from Krishna himself. Gauranga Mahaprabhu. If Krishna comes and starts the sampradaya, that's the only authentication needed. But in certain socio-religious contexts, various standards are set and need to be met if the intelligentsia, the Pandit section, is to accept the sampradaya as authentic. So maybe because it was just done to satisfy the relative concerns, the socio-religious concerns of the Pandit community, that it's not given so much importance. But still, it's one question I would have liked to ask Gurudev. Why is the Govinda Bhasya not circulated? Why do we not publish and circulate it? Where was I? So the Vedanta Sutra, the summarization of the Vedic corpus, that is, as its commentary on that is considered the prerequisite for any authentic school of thought, that becomes their core literature. And thus they comment, the commentary on the Vedanta Sutra and the discussion of the Vedanta Sutra, which is essentially what a commentary is, that becomes central in the focus, the sadhana focus of those followers. So this was the case with Prakashananda and his group. They were discussing the Vedanta Sutra. And he asked Mahaprabhu, he says to Mahaprabhu, I don't mind that that you're a devotee of Krishna. He says, I'm satisfied with that. But I can't understand why you're not indulging in the discussion of the Vedanta Sutra. I can't understand this part. Etashuni hasi Prabhu balila vachana dukana manaha yadi kari nivedana. After hearing the Mayavadi sannyasi speak in that way, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu smiled slightly and said, my dear sirs, if you don't mind, I can say something to you regarding Vedanta philosophy. And he's going to go on to do what? He's going to go on to dismantle Shankaracharya's interpretation and supplant it with Bhakti interpretation. Mahaprabhu, smiling, hasi. We hear how Mahaprabhu also smiles slightly when earlier on the Maharashtrian Brahmin who is circulating in the wider Brahmin community in Varanasi, and he meets Prakashananda and informs him of Mahaprabhu's presence in Varanasi. And Prakashananda goes on to demean Mahaprabhu, say, yes, I've heard about this Krishna Chaitanya. He's a Bharati, he's a disciple of Keshava Bharati, and which itself, to say it in that context, is pejorative, because there are 10 sannyas orders of Shankaracharya, and they belong to the various mats that Shankaracharya established in Badrinath and Puri and Dwarka and down south in India in Kanyakumari or Sringeri. There's 2 down there. So there's a few, and so each mat. Somewhere else in Caitanya-caritāmṛta, Prabhupada actually lists all the sannyas, the 10 sannyas names of Shankaracharya as they traditionally apply to the various mats. Like there's some sannyas names that are attached to the Puri mat, to the Badrinath mat, the Dwarka mat, Sringeri, etc. And then there's brahmachari names as well that are attached to the particular sannyas names. So each mat of Shankaracharya, each of these char mats, there's 4 of them, they have sannyas and brahmachari names attached to them. So the sannyas names are like Prakashananda Saraswati, right? So we have Prakashananda Saraswati. We have Keshava Bharati. We have Brahmananda Puri. So Bharati, Saraswati, Puri. And then you have Vana, Sagara, Parvat, Giri, Aranya. How many? That's 8. And then there's a couple more. So there's 10. Now these 10 sannyas names are actually included in the 108 sannyas names that were used by Saraswati Thakur. These have been collected and presented in the Gaudiya Kantahara. So these 10 sannyas names of Shankaracharya, they are part of the 108 sannyas names. They comprise part of the 108 sannyas names that the Gaudiya Vaishnavas use in the modern day. That's why we get names like Aranya and Vana and Sagara and etc. Parvat. Never seen any Saraswati being used, but the other ones are used. No, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. Duh. Maybe it's due to himself having that title that out of respect others do not use it. I guess that's the reason. So when the Maharashtrian Brahmin informs Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Prakashananda Saraswati of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's arrival and residence in Varanasi, then he gets a belittling response from Prakashananda, who first says, yes, he's a Bharati. So there are gradations. There's a pecking order in this called the Dasnam, the 10 sannyas names. And Bharati is not considered as prestigious as Saraswati. I think it goes Saraswati, Puri, Bharati, something like that. Anyway, there's a hierarchy. And Bharati is not considered the highest, perhaps not even the second highest, definitely not. So when Mahaprabhu, this is why when Mahaprabhu, after he takes sannyas from Keshava Bharati, he is considered in that line, the Bharati line, even though he gets a special name, like a brahmachari. Actually, Chaitanya is a brahmachari name in the Shankara, and the Shankara's order. But he gets a special name, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, which essentially means Krishna consciousness. Call someone, your name is Krishna consciousness. And of course, how can he not be? And Krishna himself, in the mood of Srimati Radharani. And Srimati Radharani's consciousness is nothing but Krishna consciousness. So you have Radha and Krishna combined, they can be nothing but pure Krishna consciousness. And what is Krishna consciousness? Of course, it's Mahabhav and Prem. Srimati Radharani, that's the highest Krishna consciousness. So anyway, Mahaprabhu is given the name Sri Krishna Chaitanya by Keshava Bharati. So even though he wasn't called Bharati, he's considered to have been sannyas initiated into the Bharati line. That is why when he goes, which is not considered to be topmost, considered to be kind of a lower, not the prime elite sannyas names. So when he goes to Puri shortly after taking sannyas and he meets with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, one of the first things that Sarvabhauma does is offer to arrange to have him reinitiated into a more prestigious sannyas line. we read it in whatever it is, chapters, the early chapters of Ādi-līlā, chapter, what, maybe 1, 2, 5 or 6 or something. He offers to have him reinitiated into a more respectable line. Of course, Mahaprabhu doesn't care for such things. These socio-religious considerations, they're not given too much regard by the followers of Mahaprabhu. So that was the first instance of Prakashananda demeaning Mahaprabhu, saying, yes, I've heard of this. He was initiated by Keshava Bharati. He's in the Bharati line. I'm in the Saraswati line. He's in the Bharati line. That was his first angle of attack, angle of belittlement. And then he went on to say, essentially to label Mahaprabhu as a fraud, saying, yes, he's got some charisma, perhaps he's got some siddhi of some kind, he's able to influence people, he's got a lot of followers, and he's engaging them in these emotional displays of, public displays of emotional sentiment. He said, so he's got some power, yes, I concede that, but essentially he's a fraud. And so the Maharashtrian Brahmin reports back to Mahaprabhu, he's quite devastated. Because although he's a devotee, he's a Vaishnav, he's still, in those days, there is a milieu, there's a community of different spiritualists. Some are Advaitins, follower of Shankara, some are Vaishnavas. There is more intermingling. At that time, they're living in close proximity to each other. And so he has respect, even though he doesn't necessarily follow the same creed. He has respect for Shankaracharya. So he's quite hurt to hear these words from Mahaprabhu, who he also has great love and respect for. So he goes back to Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu again, he smiles slightly, as he does here, saying, hasi, smiling. He smiles slightly. And then, of course, later, over time, he interacts with the Mayavadi community of Varanasi, specifically Prakashananda, and converts the entire lot of them to Vaishnavism, as we see in this pastime. So we'll read one more verse. Iha shuni bale sarva sanya shiragana tomake tikiye yaiche shakshat narayana. Hearing this, the Mayavadi sannyasis became somewhat humble and addressed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Narayan himself, who they all agreed he was. And they ask him, Tomara vachana suni judaya shravana, Tomara madhuri deki judaya nayana. Dear Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They're not actually saying this in the verse. There's no dear Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but Srila Prabhupada, he's included it there. Included it in the translation. This is it. This is Prabhupada's vision. Saying, Dear Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, yes, to tell you the truth, we are greatly pleased to hear your words. And furthermore, your bodily features are so pleasing that we feel extraordinary satisfaction in seeing you. So we'll finish there. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakti Vrinda. The beauty of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a recurring theme, not just in the Caitanya-caritāmṛta, but in any literature that covers the life of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. How could he not be extremely beautiful? It's Krishna himself. So we're going to read now from another new book. We haven't started reading from this book, have we?
Well, we have read a page, but we must have started at the beginning.
Okay.
This will be new to us.
All right. I'm going to read from a new book. In the light of loving devotion, these are the words of Srila Bhakti Rakshak Śrīdhar Dev Goswami Maharaj, compiled by Sri Bhakti Swarup Tridandi Maharaj, and published just a few months ago, at the same time as the book that we recently finished, called some other devotion, isn't it? There's a lot of devotion around. I was just looking at it 5 minutes ago. This is in the light of loving devotion. And that is, no, what's that one? That's this one. What's that one?
Servants of the Garden.
No, it's sitting up there.
Is it this?
No, above that. It's not. Yeah, that one.
Treasure chest, yeah.
Devotional treasure chest.
Yeah.
Look, we're just going to read. We're just going to read the first little section, first subchapter. Oh, this is chapter 2. Part 1. Part 1, as it's been divided into parts. So part 1 is called The Call of the Soul. Chapter 1 is entitled Soul Gems, and the subtitle is The First Jewel from Dream to Reality. It's not going to take us long at all. From dream to reality. So, Srila Śrīdhar Maharaj says, we are in the midst of a discordant element, a discordant atmosphere. We should try with proper adjustment to be a member of the world of harmony, So what is discord? Discord means that there's a lack of harmony. What is discordant, we can ask? Well, ourselves and the environment are essentially discordant. There is an essential anathema between ourselves and the environment. There's no harmony. Because the essential components that both are built on are antithetical to one another. The soul, Atma, is Satchidananda, whereas the environment is Asat, and there's no real consciousness or full awareness. Everything is dense and consciousness is compressed, limited, constrained by the limitations of the five senses. And everything is constantly changing, constantly coming and going. So there's no sat, there's no stability. And there's no ananda, there's no real ananda. There's flickers of it, mixed in with a lot of the opposite. Whereas the soul is all of those things, Sat, Chit, Ananda by nature. So there's an essential discourse between the soul and the environment, between the jiva and between us and the outside environment, essentially discordant. Student, yes, we do not want another world war. We want only harmony. Srila Śrīdhar Maharaj, the world war will come and go. Creation and dissolution is everywhere, in small scale or bigger scale. It is the nature of this world of matter. But we should be properly adjusted. The whole world may vanish, and we may not be affected in any way. We can see the depth and profundity and of the world, the consciousness of Srila Param Gurudev. That most people are so concerned about petty events and happenings in society. And then people that consider themselves a little more intellectually developed are not so concerned, as say, about the gossip and the magazines and on social media these days. They may be concerned more about politics or the financial state of the world. And then the deeper thinkers, they may be concerned about the destruction of humanity, the protection of the ecology, the environment, overpopulation, these existential threats. But the real spiritualist, their vision is so broad, so their scope is so eagle-eyed, so comprehensive, and not confined by material time, that they see all of these things in the proper context as trivial events. Even the so-called serious material person, not one who's enamored by pettiness and triviality. Serious, you could say, profound thinker. Even what concerns them is of minuscule importance to the real Vaishnava. So people talk to Guru Maharaj, what about the Third World War? It's like this is that little dot on an infinite timeline. It just shows the profundity of his vision. Sukadeva Goswami advises Parikshit Maharaj, just kill your animal consciousness that you will die. You are not this body. Just kill your animal consciousness that you will die. In other words, this conception that I'm going to die, saying kill that. This is the animal consciousness. You're not going to die. The soul is eternal. Param Gurudev continues, you are not this body. Don't identify yourself with this material body. You are a subject, an onlooker. You are a seer, a feeler in this material creation. You are a separate entity. You are soul. When the body dies, you don't die. Nahanyate hanyamane sharire. When the body is killed, the soul is not killed, he remains. So, you must sever yourself from your body consciousness and seek your prospect in the higher sphere. Don't think that your prospect must be in this material world and that with the death of this material body you will die. No. Even the atom bomb cannot do any harm to you. Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha. Weapons cannot pierce the soul, and fire cannot burn it. even if a 10 gigaton nuclear bomb detonates on your head, the soul does not die. Jai Srila Bhakti Rakha Śrīdhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Do you want to sing Hari Haraya, Prabhu? Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha Gopala Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudan
Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan
Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan
Sri Caitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra
Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra
Guarded Hala Sri Vasari Goda Bhakti Vrinda Jaya Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raguna
Jai Sanatana Raguna
Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raguna Detroy Gosai Koi Chavana Vandana Jaha Hoite Degnana Bhakta Purana Detroy Gosai Jaram Nui Tarada Kapsapara Pada Renu Maura Panchapa Kadeva Chavana Sebi Bhakta Saniba Jana Mai Jana Mai Maura Ayabila Joy Gosai Jabai Bhaja Koila Ba Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Govila Krishna Ananda Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Shri Guru Vaishnava Paramajayama Shri Guru Vaishnava
Gauranga Sundar Radha Giridhara Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupada Bhakti Sundar Govindade Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupada Bhakti Rakshak Śrīdhar Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupada Bhagavan Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Namacharya Śrīdhar Das Thakur Ki Jai. Samaveda Vaishnava Mandala Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai. Sri Caitanya Saraswati Mat Ki Jai. Sri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Nitai Go Premanandi Hari Hari Go.
Prabhu Gadādhara Paṇḍita Dāsa Ki Jai.
Devananda Puri Ki Jai.
This garden.
Garland.
This Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan offering. Giri Govardhan use outdoor.
Okay.
Oh, Prabhu.
Well, it's just when I asked, I asked my answer about the garden.